welcome back to the Elegant Edge, everyone. Today, Janie and I are tackling a topic that honestly hits home for so many of us in the workplace: team conflicts. Specifically, how do you handle those moments when a team member is just unnecessarily arguing, and how do you navigate that with grace, keeping everyone's self esteem intact?
Oh, Zia, this is such a crucial conversation. Pun intended. I mean, who hasn't been there? You're in a meeting, things are flowing, and suddenly someone just digs their heels in, not for a constructive reason, but it feels almost performative or perhaps driven by something else. It can really derail a whole discussion, can't it?
Absolutely. It's like you're caught in this vortex, and your immediate instinct might be to either shut down or escalate, neither of which, as we know, is productive. The challenge is, how do you keep your own cool, maintain good behavior, and still address the situation effectively?
That's the million-dollar question. I think the first step for me is always self-awareness. You have to recognize your own triggers. When someone starts that unproductive arguing, do you feel your heart race? Do you get defensive? Knowing your own physical and emotional reactions is key to not letting them take over.
That's a powerful point, Janie. It's like what the authors of Crucial Conversations emphasize. Before you can influence the conversation, you have to get clear on what you really want and then master your own story. Our internal narrative about the unnecessary arguer can often fuel our negative reaction.
Exactly. If I immediately label someone as difficult or always argumentative, I've already put up a wall. It makes it harder to approach the situation with an open mind, which is essential if you want to de-escalate rather than fan the flames. So, after recognizing your own state, what's next?
Once you've got your own emotional footing, it's about shifting the focus. Instead of engaging with the emotional argument, pivot to the facts and the shared goal. You might say something like, I hear your strong feelings on this, and I want to make sure we're all aligned on the project's objective. Can we revisit what we're trying to achieve here?
Oh, I love that. It's gently but firmly redirecting. It's not dismissing their feelings, which can make them even more defensive, but it's clearly drawing a boundary around what's productive for the team right now. It prevents the conversation from spiraling into personal attacks or irrelevant details.
Precisely. And sometimes you need to acknowledge the elephant in the room. If the arguing is truly unnecessary and disruptive, you might need to address the behavior itself. This is where firm but respectful comes in, and it's a delicate balance.
This is often the hardest part, right? How do you tell someone, hey, your arguing is unproductive, without making them feel personally attacked or ashamed? Because if they feel that, they're probably just going to dig in deeper or become resentful.
It requires moving from accusation to observation and focusing on the impact. Instead of, you're being difficult, try, when the discussion shifts to questioning previous decisions repeatedly, it slows down our progress on the current task. See the difference?
Definitely. One is about their character, the other is about a specific behavior and its measurable effect. That's a huge distinction. It makes it less about you're a bad person and more about this behavior is causing a problem for our shared goal.
Exactly. And it's crucial to use I statements. I feel concerned about our timeline when we spend a lot of time relitigating points we've already settled. This way, you're owning your feelings and observations rather than making broad accusatory statements. It invites dialogue instead of shutting it down.
I find that when you use I statements, it's harder for the other person to dispute your feeling. They can argue with you are difficult, but they can't really argue with I feel concerned. It's your experience and it's valid.
Right. It lowers their defenses, creating a safer space for them to actually hear what you're saying rather than just preparing their next counter argument. Now, a big part of this, as you mentioned in the intro, is preserving mutual self esteem. How do we ensure that even when we're setting boundaries, we're not diminishing the other person?
Oh, this is vital. After you've expressed your concern about a behavior, it's important to reaffirm their value to the team. You might say, look, your input is incredibly valuable and we appreciate your passion for getting things right. My aim here is just to make sure we're channeling that energy in the most productive way possible for this project right now.
That's a beautiful way to phrase it, Janie. It's separating the person from the problem, as Dr. Stephen Covey might put it. You're valuing their contribution while still addressing the problematic behavior. It shows you're not seeing them as the enemy, but as a colleague whose potential isn't being fully realized in that moment.
Exactly. And it's about assuming positive intent, even if it's hard in the moment. Maybe they're arguing because they genuinely care about the project, or they feel unheard, or they're just having a bad day. If you can approach it with that perspective, it changes your tone and makes it easier for them to receive your feedback.
That's high emotional intelligence in action. Daniel Goleman talks about the ability to understand and manage our own emotions and those of others. In these moments, it's about empathizing with what might be driving their behavior, even if you don't condone the behavior itself.
For sure. I had a situation once where a team member was constantly questioning every single decision, and it was draining everyone. I pulled them aside, not in front of the group, and I said, "I've noticed you have a lot of concerns about X. I really value your attention to detail, but I'm worried it's impacting our ability to move forward. Is there something specific bothering you that we haven't addressed?"
That's a fantastic example. What happened next?
Turns out, they felt like their previous input had been ignored on a different project, and they were trying to prevent a similar mistake from happening again. It wasn't about the current project at all, but about a past unresolved issue. Once I listened and acknowledged that, the whole dynamic shifted. We could then talk about how to ensure their voice was heard in a constructive way, and the arguing stopped.
Wow, that's incredibly insightful. It really highlights the power of seeking to understand even when the behavior initially seems purely antagonistic. It wasn't ego, it was an unmet need or a past wound.
Exactly, and that brings us to the next crucial phase, restoring a normal working relationship. After you've had that conversation, after you've expressed your standpoint firmly but respectfully, how do you move forward?
This is where demonstrating trust and follow through becomes really important. If you've had a difficult conversation and you've both agreed on a path forward, act on it. If you said you'd check in, check in. If you said you'd ensure their input is heard, make sure it is. Consistency builds bridges.
Absolutely. It's not a one-and-done thing. Relationships, especially professional ones, require ongoing nurturing. And it's also about letting go. Once the conversation is had and the agreement is made, you can't hold a grudge. You have to actively choose to move past it.
That's a big one, Janie. Holding on to resentment secretly undermines all the good work you did. It's about returning to zero, metaphorically speaking. You both acknowledge the hiccup, address it, and then you both commit to a fresh start.
And sometimes, it requires you to model the behavior you want to see. If you want them to be more collaborative, be overtly collaborative yourself. If you want them to focus on solutions, be a solution finder. People often mirror the energy and approach of those around them.
It's true, leadership isn't just about your title, it's about your actions. And leading by example in conflict resolution is probably one of the most powerful things you can do for team cohesion. Let's not forget the power of a quick, casual check in afterwards. "Hey, how's that task coming along? Everything good?" Just showing you're still connecting as usual can reassure them that things are back on track.
Yeah, those informal touches are surprisingly effective. They signal we're good without having to explicitly say it, which can sometimes feel awkward. It normalizes the relationship again. What about if the behavior persists, Zia? What if, despite all your graceful attempts, they continue to be disruptive?
That's a valid concern. If direct, respectful communication, followed by an opportunity for change, doesn't yield results, then it's time to consider involving a manager or HR. This isn't about telling on them, but about escalating a problem that's now impacting team productivity and morale beyond your individual capacity to resolve. You've done your due diligence.
Right, because at some point, one person's ego or inability to adapt can't be allowed to continually sabotage the entire team's success or psychological safety. It's not a failure on your part if it reaches that stage. It's about protecting the collective.
Exactly. But even in that escalation, you maintain the same principles. Focus on observable behaviors, their impact, and what you've already tried. Keep it objective, not personal. You're still operating from a place of respect, even if the outcome might be difficult for the other person.
Right, so to recap, it really starts with managing yourself, recognizing your triggers, getting clear on your desired outcome, and owning your feelings. Then it's about redirecting the conversation, using I statements, focusing on facts and impact, and always affirming the person's value while addressing the behavior.
And finally, restoring that relationship through consistent follow through, letting go of grudges, and modeling the positive behaviors you want to see. This entire process, while challenging, is what helps build incredibly resilient and high performing teams. It's respect over ego not just as a mantra, but as a practical guide.
It truly is. It transforms what could be a destructive force into an opportunity for deeper understanding and stronger bonds. Because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to do good work together, right? Sometimes we just need a gentle nudge back towards that shared purpose.
Well said, Janie. This has been such an insightful discussion. Thank you for sharing your experiences and wisdom.
My pleasure, Zia, and thank you for bringing up such a vital topic. I think everyone can benefit from these strategies.
Absolutely. To our listeners, we hope this conversation gives you the tools and confidence to navigate those tricky team dynamics with grace and effectiveness. Remember, your ability to handle conflict respectfully is a superpower in any team setting. Join us next time on The Elegant Edge for more insights into thriving in your professional life. Until then, keep those crucial conversations going.